Hey friend, in this video I'm going to show you how to master your watercolor anemone flowers. Anemone flowers are a star-shaped flower, and I'm going to show you how to point each petal using a teardrop-shaped petal to achieve an anemone flower, when I place the stamen and the bulb of the flower, and how to create depth and movement with this loose style watercolor flower. So if you're ready for this one, let's dive in. Okay, so for this lesson, I'm going to show you how to paint an anemone flower. This flower is going to use teardrop shaped petals like I showed you in one of the previous lessons. And then from our sketching tutorials that I've shown you in this video as well, keep in mind your anemone flower is a star-shaped flower. So we're kind of making sure our petals are all pointing back to the center. And I'm going to use my size 16 brush for this. Because I'm going to paint really large petals using cobalt blue and ultramarine violet. If you guys know me at all, you know my least favorite color is purple. But for this anemone, I'm going to paint this color anemone, so we're doing it. A lot of people like purple, so we're using it. And I do like certain shades of purple. I like cobalt blue mixed with ultramarine violet. And maybe a touch of opera rose. It's a nice purple. All right, so keep in mind we're gonna have the bulb of the flower envisioned in our head before we actually paint it, but that's gonna inform where all of my petals point. So whatever direction your petal is pointing, you're gonna have your brush point as well. So if my petal is pointing this way, I'm gonna have it go this way. If you need help with painting petal shapes, make sure you go back to that lesson. But I'm gonna do a teardrop shape here, pointing back to where I know that bulb is going to go. And I have really fat teardrops, so I did it a few times on either side. And we're gonna come float over here, kind of hugging where that bulb is gonna go. So it's gonna go right here. So these bottom points are kind of parallel to each other. I'm going right across, curving in. And then we're going to go behind where the bulb is, right here. And always pointing back to the center of the flower. And then from here, I'm going to grab more of that color, thicker mixture of that color, so that it's darker or more opaque. I'm going to add some darker wet details to the base of these petals while they're still wet, so you get that fun magic moment and that soft blend between light and dark. So just dropping it in, maybe up here as well, or on the edge of a petal to show that it's a separate petal. And then we can grab our stamen color. I'm going to grab Mars Black, some Prussian blue, a little bit more blue. And I'm just using a slanted hold, pressing and lifting right there. I'm going to let that dry, so then I'm going to add the stamen after. Teardrop shape. So while these petals are drying before I add the stamen, I can now move on to my stems and leaves. Make sure you go back to that leaf lesson, and then I'm going to make them a little jagged like anemone leaves by flicking around the edge. This bleed with the green and the blue, I like the green one. The blue one I'm going to lift off before it dries, which is the beauty of watercolor. It's like you can kind of erase or make things more subtle. The green one I might just kind of clean up a little bit, but I like that bleed. If you don't like it, then obviously you can clean it up. And then I'm going to move on to this flower. I'm just going to kind of dot around. I really do love the darker color bleeding in there, but I don't want it to take over. So I'm watching that as it's bleeding and drying to make sure it doesn't take over. We've got the center of our anemone here. You can add little eyelashes with the tip of the brush, pointing back to that bulb. Just always keep in mind the basic shape of the flower, that every petal, every stamen, dot, all of it is pointing back to the center. And then if you have a hard time with water control or wet and wet technique, make sure you check out the Complete Beginner's Guide to Watercolor, because that goes into detail on those basic techniques that you should know when you are painting with watercolor if you're new or need help with that. So make sure you go check out that video. But these bleeds are making a lovely situation. I'm just going to go in and on these petals that are still wet, add some darker purple just to show some more depth that is not wet, so I can show you what to do there. Just lift it. And there you go, there's your anemone flower. 2 varieties of this anemone flower. I could go back over this bulb right here once this dries with black to really make that blue, that center bulb area pop around the blue. But remember, you're creating a star-shaped flower with your anemones. So all of your petals are pointing back to the center of that flower, and we're using teardrop-shaped petals for the anemone petals. So make sure you go back to our sketching lesson where I show you how to envision that star shape, and then also for our basic petal lesson to get that teardrop shape down. Thank you so much for watching. This was just one part of the full length tutorial that we put together called the Complete Beginner's Guide to Watercolor Flowers, where I cover sketching flowers, sketching leaves from basic shapes and curves, painting basic flowers and their basic strokes for petals, painting basic leaves from compound strokes, pressure and release, painting an anemone star-shaped flower, painting delphinium, painting an iris flower with watercolor, color mixing using reference photos and how to achieve certain colors with color mixing, and also a full floral composition for a floral bouquet in watercolor. So make sure you check out that full-length tutorial. If you liked this video, please, please, please make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and comment below with what your favorite takeaway was from this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.